Yeah, good morning, all of you. So welcome back to DevOps sessions. So do you have any doubts on AWS Lambda? Completed, right? Yeah. Guys, in Kubernetes, you will get clarity in 2 days. Okay. Once we go in deep, then you can get everything is very clear. Okay. In day one, day two, understanding may be little difficult. Okay. Be patient for that. Yeah. It's a big ocean. Okay. So if you ask me one question, sir, where I can focus in Kubernetes? Only one answer, Kubernetes architecture. If you understand Kubernetes architecture, you can easily understand entire, sorry. Yeah, you will get clarity, 100% clarity in Kubernetes. Okay. So we can start Kubernetes architecture first. Okay. So in Kubernetes, we have a two type of nodes. Okay. We have a online team. Are you there? Let me, okay. Okay. So we have a two type of nodes, guys. Okay. One is control node. And second one is worker node. Control node and worker node. So simple. Control node control your activities. Worker node activities. Understand? So here two nodes are there. Worker node is nothing but our pods running, right? Your pods, containers. It will run in worker nodes, not in control nodes. How many pods required? How many pods need to be deleted? And which region and which node this pod is going to create? Everything managing by control node. It's a control node is a manager. Worker node is our real environment. Our real pods can be created in worker node. If any question will come, can we create pods in control node? Not possible. Okay. Yeah. No use, no control. Let's start the process now, one by one. So as I said, we have a control node. In control node, we have a very important components. Let me discuss one by one. The first important one is API server. The first component in control node is API server. Okay. Okay. So this API server is the main component in control node. Let's say how to create deployment in Kubernetes by using YAML files, right? Deployment YAML file. So the deployment YAML file. So this is my laptop. This is my laptop. Okay. So there is a one command to apply your deployment. The command is kubectl apply -f your deployment.yaml file name. Okay. So for example, let me take a sample deployment here. So in my GitHub, let me go to my Kubernetes. Okay. Go for day 2 worker node components. So I'll just go for one pod. So I can explain in a very easy way for how to write a YAML file. Just leave it for me that, okay? So I want to deploy one pod, guys, by using this YAML file. Understand? By using this YAML file, I want to deploy one pod. This YAML file, if I apply this YAML file, one pod can create. Pod means what? Pod. Inside container will be there. Inside application will be there. So definitely this pod, we need to give us some image reference, right? That image from ECR, whatever your actual application. So if you give public image, you can give any image, Nginx, Jenkins, whatever it is. This is public. So whenever I can just give the kubectl apply -f my deployment.yaml file .yml. I mean, what is this here? I'm going to apply this deployment. I'm going to apply this deployment. What is my deployment here? One pod only. Okay. If you give this command, the first request will go to API server. Then API server understand, okay, it will create a pod. Understand? kubectl commands. In Docker commands will go to where first? Docker images, Docker run, Docker PS. Where exactly the command will go first? Docker daemon. Understand? Same here also, you can understand API server like a Docker daemon. So here API server is a completely managing entire process only through API server only. Okay. Okay. I'm going to create one pod. This is my agenda. So pod can create in which node? Worker node or control node? Worker node. This is very clear, right? Let me draw the worker node. Okay. So, okay, this is my worker node. This is my worker node. Okay. So here, API server, whenever the request will give from your laptop, whenever the request will give from your laptop to create pod, the first request will go to API server. And API server act as a here medium. I mean, it has to take help from other. API server will not create pod directly. API server will send to next stage. I got the request from one user to create a pod. So it has to check with other components. So in the control node, we have a different components. The first important component after API server, that is a controller. Guys, what is the, okay, in controller, okay. What is the task for Terraform state file? State file. Hmm? store all infra, remote state. But what is the reference for state file, remote or local? Remote. Small question then in that case. This is my local configuration Terraform file. So this is the actual remote. In the local configuration file, in the source block, resource block, you have given to create S3 and EC2. Okay. So after apply, only state file will update. Understand? After apply, state file will update. After apply, the request will go to AWS environment API. Here it will create EC2 S3. EC2 S3. Is this clear? Again, this EC2 S3 after updating, it will capture into state file. Yes, EC2 S3 is created. And also this is linked with your local configuration file. So it is a act as a in between local and remote. Is this clear, everyone? Now you tell me, guys, one question to everyone. In remote, I have deleted S3 bucket. Just listen my question carefully. I just deleted S3 bucket. That's it only. What about state file? Still S3 information will be there or deleted? Will be there. In that case, it will not track remote infra, right? In that case, if S3 deleted me, definitely that S3 also deleted in the remote state file, right? When the state file will act based on your local commands. If I give apply now, what happened? Immediately state file refresh the state. Until and that it will not refresh the state. Refresh the state. Again deleted S3. What happened? Create. Again state file will go and check. S3 will update. S3 will create and it will back to you. Is this clear? Next, one more scenario. EC2, S3 is created both and it's their local configuration file. This is what? Desired state. This is what? Current state. Desired state to current state, your state file work like a medium. Understand? So in my desired state now, understand carefully the second question, second scenario. S3 EC2 created, S3 EC2 updated, created in the real environment, current state also as per the desired state. Now S3 regarding in the S3 related resource block, you have deleted from the local configuration file. Understand? Local configuration file. Immediately S3 related information will be deleted in state file. No, again, it will wait for Terraform instructions. You just doing modifications. State file, if track means every modification, it will track. That is not correct. When you are going to apply, if you feel this is correct, only right? Otherwise, every modification state file will update means definitely conflicts will come. See, I'm doing some modifications, but it is not a final modifications. Final modification, when you can decide, you can definitely give the apply command. Understand? Now you tell me, I just removed S3 block, S3 resource block from the local. Okay, S3 resource block from the local. If I Terraform apply, what happened? Destroyed S3 from the remote. Understand? See, depends on your Terraform command only, action will be depends on the state file. Now state file, immediately local configuration changes will be there. You are saying apply means you need to apply only EC2, not S3. I mean S3 removed from the local configuration. Indirectly, the request will go to remote, whatever existing S3 is deleted. Again, state file will update without S3. Understand? After apply action only, state file updates will be there, not for if any changes will come here and there. Understand? Same thing here also. Controller. Same like state file. If I'm going to create a pod, right? For example, your pod deleted. Deleted means immediately new pod can create by Kubernetes. In that case, we don't know this pod is new pod or already deleted pod recreating. We don't know, right? That is taken care by controller. First, immediately API server will say to controller, I got a request from user to create a pod. Do you have any information regarding this pod? Understand? The request will go to first controller. Same like in configuration file, whenever you can apply stateful can act as a bridge in between that, it will update, right? So controller work like a control all worker nodes. Understand? So API server can ask to control, is there any information regarding this pod? No, I don't have any information. So here we need to understand each request work like a one-to-one, not for one-to-many. If API server is request to controller, immediately controller response give to API again. Now, okay, you don't have any information this pod, so that this is new pod. Okay. Now I need to schedule the pod on which node. You have a multiple nodes, right? In worker nodes, 1 or 2. For example, let's take an example. This is one more worker node. But control nodes, only one, not multi. So worker node 1, worker node 2. Understand? Yeah. Okay. So controller after give the response to the API server, the next component is scheduler. Understand? If you understand this architecture, 50% Kubernetes you can easily understand. Now controller will not give any response to scheduler. It's a one-to-one process. Whenever the response, after getting the response from the controller, okay, next response will go to scheduler. Understand? Worker, I will just wait for 10 minutes. Just wait for 10 minutes, we'll get a clarity. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Arun Kumar, just wait for 10 minutes, we'll get a clarity. So now API server give the response to scheduler. I got a requirement from the user. Okay, this is new requirement. Controller is saying that there is no existing information for this pod. Why controller here? You will get a clarity. Wait. Scheduler immediately control as per the control saying to API server can ask to scheduler, can you give where exactly deploy this pod? In which node? I mean scheduler to give the response, this pod where I can schedule. Scheduler cannot schedule the pod. Scheduler can give the access to schedule here or here. Understand? For example, your pod, you have created one pod. You need to create in only one worker node, not worker one, worker node two. I need to deploy in node two only. In this case, scheduler will help. Scheduler will help to schedule the pod on which node. That's it. Understand? Next, guys, please focus. Please focus. Don't ask any questions. After that, I will give you time to ask any questions. So immediately, scheduler will give information to API server. Yes, you can schedule in worker node 2. Okay, you can schedule in worker node 2. It's a default action. Scheduler is a default action until you specify anything. We can specify also in the scheduler. Scheduler, you can schedule my pod in worker node 2 only. So in this case, the scheduler will, as per the deployment file, is there any requirement to schedule this pod only specific node? Yes means, okay, we can go ahead with that requirement. Scheduler will give the clearance. No, user not mention anything in the deployment file. Then scheduler can decide, give the pod clearance in any worker node as per the CPU utilization. Is this clear? Like auto scaling group. And here, very important, very important component is etcd, etcd, etcd. This is database component in your control node. For example, guys, your pod already running with one application, which is running in node 1 related to specific service, related to some dependencies. Pod deleted. What is our actual default action? It should be create immediately with the same functionalities. Understand? But pod is deleted, right? So if you want to give same pod with the same functionalities, we need to track. Understand? So that information, everything stored in etcd. It's a database. Understand? So here store the data. Okay, we can write later all the points once. Store the data into the etcd. So now again, API server asked etcd, do you have any information, stored data regarding this pod? Since controller is saying this is new pod, so etcd also no information. It's a new pod, right? No data is there in etcd. So my end also no data. Okay. So finally, API server decided this is new requirement. So as per the scheduler, let's suppose scheduler is saying that you can deploy into worker node 1. Is this clear, everyone? Control node activities. Now API server inform to worker node. Okay, I got a requirement to create a one pod in your node. Why only my node? Scheduler is saying that. Okay. So again, here one component is there. That is kubelet. The component is kubelet. Okay. The information will come from where? API server. As I said, no other component will directly interact with any other component. It has to go through API server only. So immediately API server communicate to kubelet. Okay. Communicate to kubelet. We got a one requirement from the user. Scheduler is decided to create a pod in your worker node. Okay. Understand? So I need to create a pod here. Decided worker node 1 is finalized by the scheduler. No any previous information stored in its CD. Controllers are saying nothing is there. Any pod, there is no pod is running in previously in that worker node. So here kubelet, after taking the instructions from the API server, kubelet can run the runtime, container runtime. Understand? Pod create means what? We need to create a container, like a Docker container. Docker runtime is required, right? So here container runtime is coming to the picture. This is Docker. Here Docker can run based on this container. So this is container runtime. So we are using which container runtime here? Docker. We have a Rocket D, so many tools are there, but we are using Docker, right? So one question, without Docker install in your system, will you work with Kubernetes? No. Is this clear now? Yeah. So Docker. So whenever, as soon as get the response from the API user, kubelet can take the instructions from the API server. API server will give the instructions for all the three information already collected, right? From the scheduler, from the controller, from the etcd. So looks like finally decided, hey kubelet, looks like this is the new requirement. After discussing with my controller and etcd, nothing information is there. Is a new requirement. We need to create a pod as per the user requirement. Scheduler is decided to in the worker node. Okay, go ahead. So immediately kubelet will run the Docker container runtime as per this image. Okay, whenever run the inside YAML image, what it will be created? If image will be created, image will be run means container will be created. But this image is created by Kubernetes. So pod can create. Understand? So let's draw the pod here. This is my pod. Inside container, inside image. What about worker node? 2. Worker node 2. No need to deploy, right? Instructions come only for no worker node 1. Okay. And Okay, your application is running finally into the worker node in the form of container in the pod. Then how to give access to the public? That is a challenge, right? Yeah. So we are using to give the access, which component? Service, right? We are using service to give a access. But that service, if you want to give to public access by using service, here one more component is working in the background. That is kube proxy. Kube proxy. Okay. This kube proxy, SVC means service. Okay. It will give the access to out. So two type of access we can give to outside access. One is for load balancer. One is for node port. Okay, one is for load balancer. One is for node port. Clear? After that, the process after that, whenever deployment, your pod is running, right? Again, kube proxy take the information from the pod. Okay. And give back to API. So as you requested, deployed pod. And what API server will do now? API server inform to controller. Take your responsibility for this pod in your control and inform to scheduler. Yes, we schedule the one pod. Otherwise, scheduler don't know, right? Pod is created or not. Inform to scheduler and inform to etcd. You can store the respective pod information into your database. Clear? Now everything tracking is there right now. Let's suppose, see here, you can understand now. In the YAML file, I'll just change the label here. My app to my app, otherwise my file. Name, just I have changed the name, my app to my file. Again, you have given kubectl apply -f your file.yaml. What you are expecting? After update the only tag, label tag. The first request will go to where? API server. I got the response from the user to update some pod is creating. Controller, just send the request to controller. No, the pod already running. No need to create pod. I think we need to update something into that. Understand? Immediately API server informed to kubectl. Sorry, kubelet. Need to update the pod only. Understand? It will not create new pod. So controller maintain desired state and current state. Whenever requirement is coming from the pod, this is the desired state, like Terraform local configuration. Current state, remote activities. Controller will say to API server, no, the regarding YAML file pod already running. Okay, pod already running. So we can update only tag. Remaining everything is matching. What is the main thing here? Which component, if you change, everything will be created from the scratch? Excellent. Understand? Image is the main part here. If you change the image, user is expecting one more pod. Understand? You should create one more YAML. You should not run existing YAML. If you run existing YAML, what happen? Existing will be deleted, new will be created. Same like Terraform. Terraform existing configuration. So if you want to create S3 bucket, guys, here EC2 is there. If you want to create S3 bucket, what you can do? Create one more file and apply S3 will create. If you delete here, if you create S3, what happen? Existing EC2 will be deleted, right? This configuration file is to create EC2 instance, state file will be updated accordingly. But if you change this EC2 in place of S3 configurations, if you rerun means, don't expect only S3 will create. Yes, S3 will create, but existing EC2 will be deleted. Understand? Same thing here also. Same thing here also. If your requirement is different, you can create one more YAML. No, modifications is required. What kind of modifications it is? If it is a image change modifications, definitely delete and recreate. If it is a tags, update tags only. No need to delete and recreate. Understand? Updates the tags. That can take care of controller. Related pod already running on the same YAML file. Sir, how controller can understand based on the YAML file? So the same YAML file already running before, which is related to one pod. The same YAML file again they are applying. So inside it will go to etcd. What information you stored? My information is app label. Okay, now not app label. My app something name is different. Okay, it is override on the existing information. Again, after running the pod, this label will update to etcd. Okay, pod is updated, store the label details. But etcd will not store application details. Once again, I'm saying that. Okay, what application you say, it will not store. Kind of information of pod only it will store. Pod information, which node it is running, which labels, kind of things only, not for inside application. Is this clear? Perfect. That storage volume we can discuss later and that comes under volume part. Okay, so if I change my web app to some different name, the request will come to first API server. It will ask to controller. The same YAML file, is there any information? Yes, same YAML file already uploaded before. Pod is already running. Okay, I think we need to update the tag only. The difference will be there in the update the tag. Who can say? etcd will say that. Now scheduler will not change. Pod all running the same scheduler. It will not give the different worker node, right? Go ahead the same worker node, same requirement, right? Immediately can tell to the kubelet, hey kubelet, you just update the tag. Kubelet will update the tag. Understand? Again, if I create a one more YAML file here, same process. The YAML file request will go to API server. Hey controller, is there any information? No, it's a new one. Go for scheduler, go for etcd. Same process, kubelet, runtime, give the kube proxy to give the access. Is this clear, everyone? This is little difficult one. Try to understand. Okay. Now tell me. Yeah, I'll come to that. Wait, Nagarjuna. Again, kubectl apply hyphen file.yaml, right? Now the next command is kubectl delete hyphen file.yaml. I'm going to delete now. The first request will go to APS server. Got the requirement for the delete. If there is no YAML file, for example, different YAML is giving to delete. Go for controller. I don't have any information. No pod is running with this YAML file. First of all, it will give an error. No YAML will found. Understand? No, same YAML you are going to delete. Controller will, okay, already pod is running. Yes, we need to delete. Otherwise, controller will say no pod is running. How you can delete? If you can give the different YAML file name to delete, try to delete, you will get an error, right? Pod is not running in this YAML file. That controller can check desired state and current state. Now I'm going to delete this YAML file. API server will give the information to controller. User is going to delete the pod. Yes, pod is running. Controller will say that in remote and pod is running. Okay. Now API server will inform to scheduler. Got the request for delete the pod in the same node, whatever you have suggested. So track in your information means next time any pod request will come, scheduler can give the clearance to deploy into the same node. Why pod is already deleting, right? So CPU utilizations to balance it. Okay, I will note it. And then inform to its CD. You have to clear entire data regarding this pod. I'm going to delete. Okay, understand? Okay. So immediately pod is deleted. The request will go to kubelet, delete the container runtime. Whenever delete the container runtime, pod will be deleted, container will be deleted. This is the process. After delete it, again give the information kubelet to API server, deleted pod. Immediately API server will give the scheduler, pod will be deleted. So next time if you want to schedule anything, new pod, you can give the clearance in the same node also. And will inform to controller, yes, pod will be deleted. Now controller and nothing will be run in the worker node. Understand? And now if any new requirement will come, same thing. Controller will say that, okay, no pod is running with the same YAML, you can clear it. You can create it. Scheduler will say, okay, you can schedule in any worker node. It's CD. If I have a data in the related the pod, it will give. Otherwise, it will go for new pod and this is the process. Is this clear? Any questions? This understanding is very important. The reason is you will get one entry question on this 100%. This is control node. No need to do anything. System can do. Okay. Just for understanding all I'm saying that you just managing with the commands only. How controller will go to API server, not for responsibility. The system is configured like that. I'm explaining here. Okay. How state file will update? If you ask me that, the background configuration is like that only. Sir, why only state file is created? Other file will be created if you ask me that. The configuration is like that to create a state file. Same here also, right? Okay. Any questions? Container runtime will be created for each. Yes, each pod means different images, right? You have to run the container runtime, right? Then only pod will create. The next question is how pod will restart. Again, API server is responsible. Yes, without API server, no request will go to anywhere. Whatever requirement you are giving, it will go to API server first only. Nagarjun. Now, one question. Unfortunately, pod is deleted due to some reason. You haven't deleted that, right? Pod is deleted. Yes, of course, we can monitor. Anyway, this pod is deleted unfortunately. Okay, this pod is deleted unfortunately. So immediately, what is the requirement? Create new pod, same worker node with the same configurations. Is this clear? So whenever it is deleted here, kubelet will inform to API server, my end one pod is deleted. Okay, my end one pod is deleted. As per the AML requirement, your API will inform to controller, pod is deleted, right? Yes, pod is deleted. I mean, remote end there is no pod, right? So immediately controller will inform to API server, we need to create one pod. Current state, desired state is not matching. Understand? We'll ask to scheduler, yes, this pod is running in the worker node. You can create same worker node. etcd. It will give the information of pod. When the pod is deleted, the entire information is captured in the etcd. It will give the same configurations. etcd will give. API server will give to kubelet, create one more pod immediately. The same node, same configurations. How can you say same configuration? etcd will give. Till delete, etcd will capture your data. Okay, they will give the same data to you to create. Sir, if you delete means how etcd can understand. If unfortunately delete means how etcd can understand. If you delete means etcd also can delete entire information regarding this pod, right? If it is unfortunate delete means etcd will store the data till delete and give back to you to create pod, right? Understand? Whenever you delete, you are saying delete my pod to API server manually, right? Apply command through apply command. Then API server will inform to etcd, you can delete entire information regarding that pod. This is not accidental. User is want to delete. Okay, at that time etcd will be deleted. Until you give the delete command, etcd will not delete any pods information. Is this clear now? If accidentally deleted, etcd will not delete any information inside the database. Clear this query? Okay. Now, unfortunately, this pod is deleted. Immediately, kubelet will inform to API server, I need a schedule. New pod. Pod is deleted. Okay. And controller also will inform to API server parallelly. Yes, pod is deleted. Current state is not matching here. API server will inform the scheduler. Schedule. I need a requirement from you, clarification from you to schedule the pod. It will give the information to API. And immediately etcd give the previous data for this pod. This is not a fresh pod. Existing pod deleted. It will give. Again, inform to kubelet. Greater runtime. It will give the same pod into the same network. Understand? Any questions from anyone? Excellent. Controller is replica. I mean, in my YAML file, 2 replicas are there means your controller always maintain 2 replicas. One will be deleted. Again, controller maintain one more pod, right? Auto scaling group, 2 instances you have given the set point. If you can go manually delete one instance, auto scaling will create one more instance in the place. Why? It has to maintain the same set point. Here also replica, if I give it 2, 3, 4, 4 pods are running. If one pod is deleted, always controller is maintain the replica state. Current state, desired state. My desired state in replicas are 4. But my current state till now 4, just one deleted. Immediately it will inform to API. Current state minus desired state equal to not 0. Understand? Then immediately some difference will be there. Immediately API server will respond, and in next stage inform the scheduler, take the response from the etcd and give to kubelet. Kubelet will create a runtime. Clear? Sorry, can you please repeat? Yes, of course. As per the requirement only, it will change. Yeah, Nagaraj. See, Nagaraj, my end, three nodes are there. Simple question. Three worker nodes are there. You are going to create 6 pods. 4 pods in one worker node, 2 pods in second network node. Or 3, 3, or 1, 5, 5, 1, 4, 2. So many probabilities are there, right? That probabilities, the scheduler can take care. Two servers, two pods, how I can balance 1 to 1, 2, 0, 0 to like that. Without scheduler, we cannot schedule any pod on any worker node. Is this clear? But this is the default action. I'm saying that. But no, we have a user defined actions also there. I will show you in the coming classes. User defined actions means my pod should run in worker node 1 only. If you say that, definitely scheduler will do the same process. It will not give any different ideas to API server. 1 or 2, 1 or 2, there is no option. User is saying 1 only. So scheduler, okay, go ahead to 1. Let's an example. So finally pods are running on Docker host and Kubernetes, sorry. It is all running on your host only. Understand? Your host is only 8 GB. Okay. You are already close to 7.5 GB. You need to create one more pod which is close to 1.5 GB. No space. No space. If you not define anything here, definitely your scheduler will not give preference for this host name since it is busy already. It will send to request to worker node 2 only. No, if you forcefully say to create forcefully say to create pod in only worker node 1, definitely scheduler will inform to API server no space to create node 1. Inform to them with due to no space we are unable to create pod. We'll get an error. What you need to do, increase the volume. Then you can try. Otherwise, if you're not defining anything, scheduler can understand since node 1 is already occupied. So we have a node 2, both are in same network, same project, we can deploy into the node 2. This is a default action. Understand? Clear, Nagaraju? Okay. Any questions? One only. One deployment only. One image, one deployment, right? One image, we cannot create 2, 3 deployments, right? One image, one deployment, one pod. Okay. And one thing, the finally, Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS. Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE. Okay, yes. If you work with this cloud managed Kubernetes, we no need to focus control node. Understand? So cloud providers can take care. Clear? So what I'm trying to say here, we are unable to see entire this control node. If you can opt any cloud managed Kubernetes, even 99% projects are cloud managed Kubernetes only. The reason is very difficult to maintain on-premises control node. If you can see, lot of dependencies are there right here. If scheduler is not respond, if etcd will not respond, if controller will not respond, entire will be effect on your worker node. Understand? So control node, whenever you can install EKS into your EC2 instance, by default control node will be created invisible like RDS. RDS means that RDS also one server, right? DB is running on one server, but we're unable to see the server. Why? It's a cloud managed database, but entire process is same, right? We're unable to see RDS. Why? The high availability concepts to configure that is taken care by cloud provider. Same thing in EKS also. The control node headache, everything taking care cloud providers. Our focus is on worker nodes. Even Kubernetes entire work is there on the worker nodes only, not control nodes. Control node is a one-time setup. Worker node is a regular task as per your deployments. We cannot deploy any pod into the control node. Once again, I'm saying. Okay. Is this clear, everyone? Okay. So let me write here the steps where the request will go first and all. Or we can do here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again 7, sorry, not 7 there, here 7. Again go for 8, again go for 9, 10, 11. Okay. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3 is the first time. 8, 9, 10 is the return. Okay. So the first request will go to user to API. Okay, user. Let me write here. Okay. User to API. And next, API to controller. And again, controller to API. Again, right? The request go to API. Again, API to scheduler. Again, API. Scheduler to API. Okay. And it's CD. And again, API. Next, kubelet. Kubelet to runtime. Docker. Create pod. And next, kube proxy. Service. Okay. And return again, kubelet to API. Same again, API to controller, API to scheduler. And finally, API server will inform to user created, right? Also. User, yes, done. This is the process. This is written process. This is forward process. Clear? The architecture. It's CD. I do forget here, seriously. Something is different. Yeah, D stand for distributed, but okay, it's folder is etc folder, and D stands for distributed. Okay, etc means etc folder. Okay, it's a key value storage. Yeah, inside it etc there will be a distributed folder. It's CD. So here also you will get scenario based questions on Kubernetes, since we are dealing with multiple components, right? Yeah. That's all for architecture. So tomorrow we can see the installation process of, we have a different installations process. We have a multi environments to work on this. Okay. So first we can start with Minikube. Minikube is a free of cost. Okay. We can start in our local. we can practice the Kubernetes commands 1 or 2 days. Then we can create a EKS cluster. Okay, EKS cluster, to create EKS cluster, little difficult. The challenges we need to, create a IAM role, and we need to create a first cloud formation access, something different, but only one command. So once we configure EKS, it will take half an hour time, 20 minutes time to update into your cloud. We need to wait. Okay. So every day, if you are doing practice, start the cluster morning, and after complete your work, delete the cluster. Okay. Don't forget. So if you want to practice now, before 15 minutes, start the cluster and leave the laptop. And then after that, start the practice. And don't forget to delete the cluster. It is chargeable. Okay. It is chargeable. The reason is high configurations, it will take minimum. There is no free tier in the EKS like T2 micros. Okay. Minimum we have to give T2 medium, 2 worker nodes. And by default, it will take 8 GB memory volume. 30 still, till 30 GB is free, right? Volume. But 80 GB means it's a chargeable. So be careful on that. Just run the simple command only every day. Or if you want to automate, we can automate. We can run that command in your Lambda function. Run Lambda function every day. Delete, if you want to delete, run the Lambda function every day. Lambda will delete your EKS cluster. Lambda will create EKS cluster. But problem is, again, you need to pay for Lambda. Better to run manually. Understand? Okay. So, so in online team, is there any doubts? Or give CC? So I'm going to upload this architecture into Classroom since it is very important. Any doubts, guys? Kubernetes is very, very easy. Once again, I'm saying if you have a knowledge on cloud, auto scaling and load balancer. So just go through it once again if you have any doubts on that. Okay. So in tomorrow class, we can see the installation process and deploy sample file, sample YAML and service also. So what you need to do, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think maybe holiday. I don't know. Holiday, na? Okay. So what, maybe they will declare, I think shortly. I don't know the correct information. So I will show you how to do the Kubernetes deployment and service. What you need to do till ECR. We are clear, right? We need to give the ECR image path into your deployment YAML. That's it. Do the project. 2-3 projects are in my GitHub. Complete the 2-3 projects Monday. So we need to add in the Jenkins only. We'll see. We can explain also. Don't worry on that. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Harshal. Okay, guys. Many stories are there in that. We can discuss, guys. Bye.